Were there any Jedi that ever used red lightsabers, and if so, why? The answer is actually yes, there were Jedi that used red lightsabers, however, it was exceedingly rare. Before I reveal who these Jedi were, I want to discuss why we have seen hardly any Jedi with a red blade. The reasoning is actually really interesting. Lightsaber crystals come in a lot of variants, the most common being green and blue. These crystals are naturally occurring, and the Jedi believe are a great conductor for the Force, as they have a strange connection to it. Red crystals have actually naturally appeared before, but they are very, very rare. A red naturally occurring crystal is actually even more rare than a purple crystal. The Jedi believe in only using the natural crystals as they channel their energy into the crystal and create a relationship with it. In the very old days of the galaxy, the Jedi began discovering these crystals and perfected the art of integrating them into lightsabers. The Sith of this time utilized dark-side imbued swords to fight with, as they had limited access to the crystals. The Sith also saw missions to retrieve the crystals futile, as it would lead them directly into the clutches of their mortal enemies, and would result in much more time and effort than they thought the crystals were worth. Over time, as the Jedi perfected the lightsaber, the Sith too learned and discovered how to artificially synthesize lightsaber crystals. These artificial crystals, produced and used by the Sith, possessed a red blade, and the Jedi used the more naturally occurring colors such as blue and green. Over the generations, these colors became associated with either the Jedi or Sith Order. By the time in which the Rule of Two era Sith became prominent, they believed that their power had increased to the point where they didn't need a lightsaber at all. The reason for this is because the Sith of this time thought as though they had developed past the times where it required them to use physical weapons to crush the Jedi, and now they utilize solely their intelligence and the dark side to do so, although many Sith Lords of this era would disagree with others. Many Sith of this era did in fact have lightsabers, but according to Sidious, only as a final insult to the Jedi. Before we discuss the Jedi that used crimson blades, I want to discuss a Sith that actually came into possession of a naturally made crimson crystal. In Legends, Darth Vader eventually found and integrated a red natural kyber crystal into his lightsaber after discarding the original synthetic one. Vader did this because he felt a better connection with the natural crystal. As an interesting side note, this was written into Legends to accommodate for the slight variation in color of Vader's lightsaber from A New Hope to Empire. It was done so that the more crimson purple hued blade that Vader wielded in Empire and Return of the Jedi would make sense in continuity. The most well-known Jedi that used a red lightsaber was Adi Gallia, and this was even just for a short time. Gallia later switched the blade color to blue. Although the red blade never meant anything concrete for the Jedi, it still carried big negative connotations and was somewhat frowned upon. Gallia possessing a red blade for just a short time caused ripples throughout the Order, to the point where she was swayed to choose a more traditional color. But there were in fact other Jedi that used red lightsabers after the Clone Wars era. Luke Skywalker in the EU constructed a second lightsaber Shoto, meaning it was significantly shorter than a standard lightsaber. This Shoto he carried possessed a red blade. Luke did this so that he would be better allowed to defend himself against a light whip, as it allowed him to absorb the blows from it, then come back with his regular blade. The reason his blade is red is largely unknown, but he carried it throughout his life and used it when the occasion arose where he needed it. The final example is also another Skywalker. Leia Organa Solo in the EU for a time used a red lightsaber. The saber was initially gifted to her by Luke, who had constructed it years earlier. In the Clone Wars, it was also rumored that Jedi Master Evan Peel used a red lightsaber for a short time, but this was never confirmed. Other than this, there have been Jedi that used red lightsabers for very short periods of time, but never as their own weapon, with popular examples being Obi-Wan Kenobi when he used one of Ventress's lightsabers to fight against Darth Maul and Savage Opress, and then Anakin Skywalker when he caught Dooku's lightsaber and decapitated him with it in conjunction with his regular blue blade. Also, in the EU, Anakin used one of Ventress's blades and fought her with it after losing his own for a time. So there you have it. The answer is yes, there were Jedi that used red blades, but even they didn't use them for very long. Having a red lightsaber strikes fear into your enemies because for generations the Sith have used the variant to massacre innocents and conquer worlds. The blades carry much dark and negative history, and although the Jedi are allowed to use them, it is not something that is encouraged, since the past events represent everything they stand against. So that's the answer. Tell me down below how you feel about this, and if you think the Jedi shouldn't let past actions dictate which color they choose, or maybe have a Jedi or two with red lightsabers? Or do you see exactly where they are coming from and think it's wise for them to avoid the color? And for a final question, if you were a Jedi, would you be willing to use a red blade? Or if not, what color would you want and why? Thanks so much for watching. If you have any other lore topics or questions about Star Wars you want answered, be sure to comment them below or tweet me at StupendousWave on Twitter, and I might make a video answering the question. Again, thank you for watching, may the Force be with you, and have a great day.